What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Will, coming at y'all for a new episode of Field Note Fridays, powered by Bowtech. On today's episode, we're going to be coming at y'all live from a Colorado Elk Camp with Mr. Ryain Haines. Now, if you follow Ryain on social media, or if you don't yet, you need to go check him out. He just successfully arrowed a great Colorado public land bull. And so, with it being September, it's perfect time to be bringing y'all some Elk Rut Reports. We're going to be getting right on here to talk about what the elk were doing in his area and how he arrowed this bull. So I'm going to quit rambling, and I'm going to let Ryain bring y'all some hella information on how he was able to put an arrow in a great bull. I know.
So,
well, bro, you ready to talk elk, man?
Yeah, dude, let's get on it.
Well, dude, tell us like what went down. Tell us, just give us the dirty details, man.
Yeah, so we came out here to some public land in Colorado with a few buddies, and I've hunted this unit before, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And came out in July actually and hung some trail camps on some spots and some places that I knew had water and some wallows from the year prior. And we got here and checked those cameras the first day. They were pretty dead. I was actually surprised. So what we did is we made a game plan. I'm glad I hung those cameras so we didn't spend time in those areas, wasting our time when there really wasn't any elk in that area. So we started hunting a new spot, and I actually used HuntStand to kind of look through some topo maps and see some drainages, some steep topo angles, some contour angles, and just what looked like might be some really good bedding close to feed. And we spent 3 days in there. And the very first day we get in there, me and a buddy are sitting there, and a front rolls in. It was probably about 75 degrees, and when this front rolled in, it dropped it to probably 60 in the evening time, and those bulls just started bugling. So I bugled back, and I called a spike in, and then about 20 minutes later, I called a 4-point raghorn in at 50 yards. He was behind some trees and just couldn't really get a shot on him for my buddy at that time. So he kind of ended up wheeling out and running back up the side of the mountain. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, the first day was awesome. We got into a lot of elk, saw some cows, and then the second day we went back in there to the same spot and was kind of hunting over this small wallow in this meadow. And then it started hailing on us, really, really bad. We had to take cover for a little bit, lightning storm. And as soon as that storm kind of blew through, it dropped it to about 35 degrees. It was almost freezing up on top of the mountain, about 11,000 feet. Yeah, it was cold. I didn't prepare for that one with the clothing. But as soon as that happened, those bulls lit up. One of the biggest bugling fests I've ever been in, probably 6 or 7 bulls within 100 yards around us, just screaming. So we worked our way through some timber that had a whole bunch of sign in it, a whole bunch of fresh sign, working our way to this bull. And we get to about 75 or 80 yards, and he's actually right up next to a cliff. And he's through on some timber, and then there's a tall cliff. And he's sitting there. We see him through the timber. He's a good 6-point. We're bugling, and he's bugling, and then he circles down to try to get our win. And we made a move on him, but then it just got a little too dark, so we ended up having to back out and go the next day. So 2 days in, and we were in elk. We were seeing probably 5 to 10 elk a day and multiple bulls. So and then the couple days that went by, the next day that went by, it was super hot, no rain, no front push through, and it was just it was tough for those bulls kind of shut in their 80s, and so we actually didn't see or hear a bugle that day at all. And then day fools around, and we decided to split up. And I went back in there to that spot that I knew had some bulls in it, and I was actually going to go to a new spot, a new bedding area, which I thought they'd be in. Mm-hmm. And when I'm making my way there, I hear a bugle down where we were the night before. So my thermals were going right to him. So I had to back out, and I literally ran through this meadow and ran halfway up this mountain and side-hilled it to get my wind right, and came out below him, which is about a mile run. And then I hit my first bugle, and then since then he just fired up. He kept bugling back at me, and then I cut the distance without bugling at all. And then he started making his way to this bigger meadow. And I knew that's where he was going. So once I creeped up to that meadow, I get to about 100 yards, and I look up, and there he is standing in the middle of this meadow. And then I kind of creep forward. He's at 100, like 101, somewhere around there, and I didn't feel comfortable with that shot. I look to the left, and there's two more bulls,
Yeah.
and they're all in this meadow. And I creep up, and they kind of make their way around this little bend in the trees. So I cut the distance in half and got to about 70 yards. And when I did, I'm looking through the trees at them, and the bull that I actually was going after was fighting, and he was locking horns with this smaller bull, and just they were going after it and bugling, and so he ran the smaller bull off and then made his way up this hill. And I knew he was going, it's exactly where I knew his bedding area was, and he was making his way straight to it. So he ran the other two bulls off, and when he went up the hill, I followed him, and I ended up closing the distance on him super close. I got to about 25 yards in some super thick timber, and I stepped on a stick and cracked that stick, and he just wheeled around and looked at me and stared at me for about 2 minutes, and I didn't make a move, and then he wheeled out and just ran. So as soon as that happened, I hit a bugle, and he bugled, fired right back, and then I think it changed his mind, and he thought maybe. So he slowed up, and then my wind was still good, so I followed him more, and he calmed down, and he was walking to his bedding area. Well, once I caught back up to him, I worked my way into, I heard some trees thrashing, and I worked my way in, and I could see him at about 30 yards, and I worked my way back into about 25 again. And it's so thick in there, I don't have a shot. And he's just thrashing a tree, a pine tree. He's just, probably an 8-inch diameter pine tree, and it's just going after it. And the thing is just, it looks like a twig. And then he's bugling the whole time, and I'm sitting behind this other pine tree at 25 yards trying to hold my composure. And finally, he starts walking away, walking directly the other way that I thought he'd walk, and going downhill. So what I did is I hit a small, faint bugle, and he turned again, and bugled right in my face at like 28 yards. So he started working his way downhill, and I arranged a little small gap at 36 yards, and it's the only shot I was going to have at him. And I pulled back and released it, and I hit a tree branch and sent it right over him. So he jumped and he ran downhill. I put another arrow in, and I saw the trail that he was going on, and I ranged it again, and it was at like 35 yards, exact same distance. Didn't even have to change the sight. I pulled back, he stopped, I cow called, and he stopped right in that gap. And I sent it, and I saw it hit low. But I knew I got him, and he ran maybe 30 yards and stopped, and then hunched his back like a typical gut shot.
Yeah.
And he hunched his back and then just kind of slowly walked. I could see blood pouring out, and then he stopped at about 80, 90 yards and bedded down. So I watched him for like 45 minutes in his bed. And then he stood up out of his bed and walked down to the bottom of the drainage. Well, what I ended up doing is just backing out. We actually gave him probably 18 hours till the next morning. And it was a super cool night that day, that night. I knew where he died in that bottom was really cold. So I knew the meat was going to be fine. And we ended up walking in there, and he didn't make it 30 more yards from where he bedded the first time. So he made it about 120 yards from his total from where I shot him. So ended up working out. We recovered him, and it was an awesome experience being able to sneak into a bull in his bedroom like that, and that close, and have him screaming the whole time, and just using some tactics to get one on the ground in public land in Colorado.
Heck yeah, brother! You couldn't ask for anything better, huh?
No, it was textbook too. So it was we played it right, and ended up getting some meat in the freezer at the processor here, and having some horns to go home with.
Heck yeah, dude! Can't complain about that. So,
oh yeah, we're pumped,
man. You know, the whole point of these podcasts I do like this, you know, I want to give the listeners kind of like that rut report. You know, a lot of guys have either just gotten back from a hunt, they might still be up there, or they're on their way. And so what would you say in terms of the elk rut? Like, what were these elk doing? Like, were they still bachelored up? Were they starting to herd up yet? Like, what were they doing?
So right now, they're in that stage of, from what I've seen, there's still a few bulls bachelored up. We have got on a few solo bulls, but they're not really rutting hard yet. Wallows are still pretty dry. There's a few of them starting to open up, but they're not really too active yet. We hit it pretty early, but those bulls are bugling, especially if you get a pressure change. So we've seen 3 times now, as soon as a pressure change comes and that sun goes away and some clouds roll in, those bulls will be bugling. If I could give one thing of advice to anyone is to try to stay away from too many, right now, try to stay away from early September, too many cow calls. I see a lot of guys, I mean, I've seen 3 or 4 hunters here or heard them, and what they're doing is they're throwing out a lot of bugles with cow calls, trying to make it sound like those bulls have a harem of cows, and right now they're just not doing that. So those bulls can tell that right away.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be one hot cow in the area starting to come into heat, but they're not like that. So if I had one thing of advice is to slow down on the cow calls. If you hear a bugle, cut the distance as fast as you can without making a noise. And then if you have to locate him again, throw a faint bugle the other way. Don't blow it in his face, because what those bulls are doing right now, they're not too fired up. You might call one in, but they're not really looking for a fight right now. They're looking to kind of establish their territory, their zone. So they might be a little territorial, but they're not too fired up. So definitely early September, try to sneak in on them, and you'll have some success.
Heck yeah, man. So you would say that probably later this month, cow calls will start being the trick? For
sure. So later in the month, I would say another week and a half or 2, especially if some good weather rolls in some of these areas in Colorado and even other states. I think those bulls will start kind of going out and looking for cows, because right now they're definitely bachelored up still. They're not really on the search right now. So yeah, cow calls just really kind of give it away to those bulls that to not go over there.
I got it, man. Well, dude, man, I really appreciate you just hopping on the podcast with me as you're up in the mountains and just kind of giving us the skinny on what happened and telling us about the rut up there.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. It's a fun time, and we'll look forward to hopefully getting a couple more bulls in the ground in the next 5 days.
All right, y'all, there you go. We just want to thank Ryain for his time to talk elk with us live from his camp. He was able to bring y'all some information on what the bulls were doing, and hopefully you'll be able to take some of this information about what the elk are doing. Right now, it sounds like they're still bachelored up in Colorado. They're bugling, but they're not really in the full swing of rut yet. So hopefully you'll be able to take something from this, apply it to what you're doing, and kill you a big bull soon. So we just want to thank y'all again for tuning in to another Field Note Fridays episode powered by Bowtech, and we'll see you on the next one.